13 meters underground, no light, no air moving. You'd have to crawl the last stretch on your stomach. And at the bottom of that shaft, bones. Thousands of them. At least 28 people thrown into the dark. One skull sits apart from the rest, above its left eye, too dense. Not from a fall, not from an animal, from something swung, twice, by someone standing close enough to see him breathing. That skull is 430,000 years old, and it may be the oldest murder case on Earth. Northern Spain, the Atapuerca Mountains. Cavers found the shaft in the 1970s. They named it Cima de los Huesos, the pit of bones. It drops straight down into the mountain's belly. No natural way in from the surface. No stream could have carried anything there. No predator drags its prey down a vertical shaft and leaves. So the question the cave asks you immediately is, how did 28 bodies end up at the bottom of a hole nothing walks into by accident? Excavators have been down there since the 1980s. They've pulled up over 6,000 bones. Almost an entire population, gone at once, or gone over generations, all funneled to the same grave. Either answer is strange. Both mean something we don't expect from a species this old. Because these weren't modern humans. They were an earlier line. Homo heidelbergensis, maybe the ancestors of the Neanderthals. Beings we'd once have called primitive. Beings apparently capable of something that looks a lot like a decision. We'll come back to that. First, the skull. Researchers call it Cranium 17. It came out of the pit in 52 separate pieces. It took 20 years to fit them back together. When they finally did, 2 marks stood out above the left eyebrow. 2 punctures, almost identical in shape, almost touching each other. At first glance, you could explain one of them away. A rockfall, a fall down the shaft itself. Bad luck, but not 2. Not 2 wounds this close together, this similar, on the same fragile stretch of bone. That's not an accident shape, that's a pattern. So a team of scientists did something almost absurd, given the age of the evidence. They ran a forensic homicide investigation on a skull older than our species. CT scans, 3D digital models, microscope work on the fracture edges. They mapped the exact angle each blow came in at. They measured the shape of the impact points down to the millimeter. And the 2 wounds didn't just resemble each other, they matched. Same object, 2 strikes, 2 slightly different angles, like someone adjusting their aim between hits. The kind of pattern you get from a weapon, not a rock that happened to fall on someone's head once, twice, in the same square inch of skull. The researchers published their conclusion in 2015. Blunt force trauma, 2 blows. Almost certainly fatal, almost certainly deliberate. In their words, the strongest evidence yet of interpersonal violence in the human fossil record. Not warfare, not a hunting accident. One person injuring another, specifically in the head, more than once. 430,000 years before anyone wrote a law against it. Somewhere in that mountain is the oldest unsolved case file we have. No suspect, no trial, no verdict beyond the bone itself. But here's what should actually stop you. It's not that he was killed. It's what happened after. Someone carried his body, or dragged it, or walked it, to the mouth of a 13-meter shaft, and dropped him in, with 27 others. That is not where you leave a body by accident. That is not a burial site animals stumble into. Getting a body to that shaft, at all, in near or total darkness, took effort. It took a decision. Which means somebody, after a killing, chose to put him with the dead. For a long time, we told ourselves a clean story. Ritual, meaning the deliberate handling of the dead. That started with us. Homo sapiens. Modern minds. Everyone before us just left their dead where they fell. Cranium 17 doesn't fit that story. Something, grief, fear, custom, we don't have the word, pushed an earlier human species to gather its dead in one place, again and again, for what looks like generations. Even the ones who died violently. Maybe especially the ones who died violently. We don't know if it was reverence. We don't know if it was disposal. A way of getting rid of a problem, out of sight, down a hole no one else would find. Both readings are unsettling in their own way. Here's what the bone can't tell you. Who swung the weapon? Whether it was a stranger or someone he'd known his whole life. Whether it happened in a fight, an ambush, or something closer to an execution. Whether the person who carried him to the pit was grieving him, or was the one who'd killed him, 430,000 years erases motive completely. It leaves only the wound and the fact that someone, afterward, made a choice about where he'd go. That's the whole case file. Too dense in bone, and a body deliberately placed among the dead. We like to think violence and grief are modern problems. Symptoms of civilization. Too many people, too little space, too much to fight over. Cranium 17 says otherwise. 500,000 years ago, something out there could kill, and something in the killer's world still felt the pull to do something with the dead. Bury them, hide them, honor them, we can't fully say. Long before language as we'd recognize it, long before a single sapien's brain existed to feel it first. The instinct to hurt and the instinct to mark a death are not things we invented, we only ever inherited them.